It's September, such a beautiful month worldwide. And whether it's spring, like here in the Southern Hemisphere, or autumn in the northern one, it's the ideal time to reflect on our lives. It's almost the final quarter of the year, and September gives us the opportunity to review our goals, our expectations, and if necessary, to pivot where adjustment is needed so that we can finish the year strong. But you can do this at any time of the year, whenever you need a check in. Join me as I chat about how I reflect and pivot during this equinox and share some exciting expansions, so stay tuned to the end. I'm the Forest Fairy. Welcome to my corner of the woods where I'm rebuilding, revamping, redesigning a magical life and hopefully inspire you to gather your own fairy dust. Hello everyone, I hope you're having a great week. It's September and spring in the Southern Hemisphere. But not only that, there are two auspicious days for us. The spring equinox on the 22nd and Heritage Day on the 24th. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's spring or autumn equinox in your part of the world, they're both a time of balance and harmony when day and night are equal, and as the Satguru says, when male and female are also equal. But it is also a time when we are invited to reflect, pivot, reset and prepare for the upcoming seasons until next equinox. I imagine for us spring babes, this means to wake up and prepare for the longer days and the lovely sunlight of summer, and to be energized and inspired to get our shoulders to the wheel, so to speak. While for the autumn babes, it could mean reflecting and preparing for the introspectiveness of winter. Let me know below if you want to add to this or have a different take on it. Heritage Day, on the other hand, is a holy South African public holiday, which came into being after the country became a democracy 30 years ago. Nobel Prize winner Archbishop Desmond Tutu described us as a rainbow nation due to our diverse cultures, customs, traditions, histories and languages. We have 11 languages. It's the day we celebrate who we are and our heritage. And just to add more gravitas to September, it was a supermoon on the 17th, which also enjoyed a partial lunar eclipse. And I'm wondering why I'm feeling off kilter. But as I said, I'm using September as a time to deep dive into my life before we burst into the final stretch of 2024. Can you believe it? I'm looking at where I find myself, reflecting on my goals and expectations, and deciding where I need to push and pivot as we enter the final quarter of the year. Am I aligned with the best version of me, as I shared in my conversation on identity shifting? I'll be sweating the serious and small stuff, from what courses I need to do to upskill for my income streams, to rethinking my style. So in today's conversation, I'll share my thoughts and steps on how I reflect and pivot, starting with gratitude, explaining my two fundamental pivoting steps, sharing the areas I'll be pivoting, and about making it a habit. And before we get too hard on ourselves for not achieving what we wanted, should have, could have, if we'd only done this or hadn't done that, and before we begin falling into old patterns of believing we need to work harder, we're behind, we're alone, we don't deserve, etc., etc. And before we begin planning the nitty-gritty of what, how, and when, let's start with gratitude. Let's find stuff to be grateful for. I'm grateful that my piece of ground has sold. I'm grateful for being able to live in such a beautiful village. I'm grateful for the time and space I've had to recover from corporate and now to create a magical life. I'm grateful for the support I've had from family and friends. I'm grateful for, well, it's actually endless really, lots of small, medium and large bubbles of gratefulness. And let's look at our reverse gaps, which means instead of always looking forward to see how far you still need to go and berating yourself for being slow or undisciplined or whatever, you look back and see how far you've actually come. For example, I imagine by now I would be much lighter and fitter, but my biggest gain, for which I'm grateful in this area, is my recent incredibly positive health checks. So what are you grateful for? And how far have you come? I usually do a major review at the beginning of the year, some identity planning, and dare I say it, set a few fundamental goals for the year. So a review such as this one every 3 months or so is a good idea to ensure I'm on track. I'm now knee-deep in this as I'm actioning my 2 fundamental pivoting steps. Firstly, reviewing my life and my fundamental goals and my expectations, and then realizing where attention or pivoting is needed. As I mentioned in the pivoting conversation, I do this by plotting my discomfort, my happiness, or my desires on a scale of 0 to 10. Once that is done, I take the second step, which is to decide if I want to do something about it. Are the emotions strong enough to goad me into taking action? So my 3 fundamental goals, which needed some or other degree of pivoting, are, and no surprise here, my health and fitness, my career, and my finances. Health and fitness, for me, is a very wide area and equates to the following aspects. Being lean, which is, for me, counting macros and intermittent fasting. Being healthy, taking the necessary supplements. Being fit, walking regularly. Being strong, weight training, and being flexible. And then there are things such as a good attitude. Sometimes I really need to work on this. Staying up to date in my mind, intellectually, my image, how I present myself, and socially. Over the past few months, I've put a few small habits in place to support this area, but I now need to decide where next should I focus. Where do I want to pivot to in the upcoming 3 months? I add the word want to because you need to want to pivot. It takes a decision to be both brave and intentional. Brave to perhaps step out of your comfort zone or step away or towards something or someone. And intentional, as it may require you to make plans, make time, and even invest some money. I'd love to hear what your health and fitness looks like for you. Please share in the comments below. My second goal for this year was to improve and diversify my income streams. And I know from various conversations that this is a hot topic for many of us. Perhaps you're like me and are shifting away from a previous career or a traditional career to something totally new and a more modern and innovative way of earning. Or perhaps you're still happy and settled in your current career or position in the workforce and would just like to develop a side hustle or even just expand on a dream you've had, for example, of writing a book or developing your own wine label. Whatever the case, the same fundamental steps apply. Review and decide. I've spent a lot of time this year on putting new income streams into place, and although it's been a huge learning curve and at times very, very, very tough, it's been worth it. I'm now identifying how to take them to the next level and reviewing and exploring a few other income streams. Have you branched out or even braver taken a leap that changed your life and the way you earn money? I know that it sounds as if income streams and finances are the same thing, but for me they're not. Income streams are the way money flows towards me, and finances is the way I manage the incoming monies. And yes, this conversation is at a whole other level, a sort of rich dad, poor dad level. Over the past 6 months, I've had to take a really hard look at where I'm at with my finances. And if I say hard, I mean hard. I had to put aside all the reasons and excuses and be honest about my own mistakes and choices. And more importantly, decide what I'm going to be doing differently. I needed to take my power back because finances can be boring and complicated. We tend to hand them over to a partner, a broker, or a consultant, becoming complacent and trusting that they have your best interests at heart. But from my own experiences, I now know that which so many successful women have been shouting from the rooftops about for ordinary women like us to hear is true. We need to take responsibility for our money, educate ourselves about it, and keep a regular and sharp eye on it. Once I've clearly mapped out what I want to do over the next few months, I'll break the goals down into 12 sacred habits, because it's the things we do consistently, however small, that helps us reach success. Nowadays, there is a multitude of books and experts on how to create a habit stacking, using a trigger, getting an accountability partner, setting alarms, etc., etc. Choose what works for you. I like to use a combination of habit stacking, triggers, and alarms. I know it sounds too much and very OCD, but I need them to ensure that there's structure so that things can get done. Whether it's prepping lemon and ginger into ice cubes for my cup of water on wake up, I was recently reminded of this hack by a wonderfully inspiring young woman from whom I'm really learning so much. Or whether it's the checking of my expenses on my budgeting app during my daily admin hour. This ensures that I know precisely what's happening in my bank account, how I'm really spending my money. What do you think your 12 sacred habits supporting your goals are? So there you have it. September is an excellent time to review and decide where we're going to pivot. I hope this gets you reflecting on what needs attention and what habits you can dedicate to them. If you enjoyed this conversation, join me in the 6 Conventional Things I Quit to Become More Me, where I talk about losing what didn't serve me. I'm also planning some exciting additions and expansions to our conversations, specifically adding conversations with some wonderfully inspiring women who willingly share their insights and lives with us. Wishing you a week filled with rejuvenating decisions and sprinklings of fairy dust. Until next time, goodbye.